Hi, I'm Paris, and I've always been a fan of Tom Selleck, from his current role as police commissioner in Blue Bloods back to his days in those incredibly tiny shorts in Magnum PI. But when I saw his latest TV commercial, I thought, what's he getting so defensive about? This commercial is for AAG, the country's largest reverse mortgage lender. He's been their spokesperson for several years now. He comes out looking very trustworthy, reminiscent of the police commissioner role. And he explains what a good opportunity reverse mortgages can be for tapping into the equity of your home when you get older. But not everyone agrees that it's such a good idea, and I guess they've received some blowback, so AAG decided to have Tom Selleck do this commercial where he talks about, "This isn't my first rodeo, and have I ever steered you wrong?" If you watch TV at all, I'm sure you've seen this series of ads, but if you haven't seen the latest one, it's on YouTube. I'll link to it here in the corner of the video. You can pop over and watch it, but don't forget to come back. After seeing the commercial, I started thinking, has he ever steered me wrong? Those shorts in the 70s were a bold fashion choice, but what about reverse mortgages? What exactly are they anyway, and what do trusted authorities on such issues for older people have to say? Could a reverse mortgage help out my father? He fell last year and broke his hip, and so had to leave his home, but he still owns it. Can he get a reverse mortgage on that? What about me after I turn 62? Should I be considering a reverse mortgage in my future financial plans? I decided to do some research and get the answers to these questions and find out really what a reverse mortgage is and why a number of people don't think it's such a good idea. Now, I'm not a lawyer or a financial advisor. I'll link to all the places I went to get my information. You can find those links in the description box down below this video, and I encourage you to go check them out and do your own research before making any decisions. I'm just a guy who'd like to be able to continue to enjoy watching Blue Bloods without wondering all the time, are you steering me wrong? So before looking into it, here's what I thought a reverse mortgage was. I thought you signed your home over to the company, and then the company would make monthly payments to you for as long as you lived. And if you were to pass away just a year after and only received a small amount of money, too bad, the company got your house. Since they always mention in TV ads that you can't be forced to leave the home, I assumed as long as you lived, if that was 30 years, 40 years, they had to keep making those monthly payments to you, and you got to stay in the house if you lived 50 or 60 more years. As interesting a gambling proposition as that is, really bears no resemblance to an actual reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage is a mortgage. Your home is the security for it. You have to be at least 62 years old to qualify to get a reverse mortgage, and you receive either a big lump sum write-off or you receive smaller payments, but the idea is you don't have to pay that back, and you do get to stay in the home maybe for the rest of your life. Well, that sounds pretty good. The house is still in your name. You receive money every month. You don't have to make any payments back. And for quite a while anyhow, you'll probably likely be able to continue living there. Is a reverse mortgage the best option for some people's particular financial circumstances? I'm sure it is. Is it the best option for most people? Not many organizations agree with that. What can be the downsides of a reverse mortgage? Well, there's a cost. There's actually a lot of cost which you don't see. You see the money you're getting every month, but if you look at it, sort of like when they sell you a car and they ask you, well, how much can you afford each month? But hey, I want to know what's the total. And if you look at the total with the reverse mortgage and you see how much you'll be paying for different things, it's pretty eye-opening. Another consideration is that you can still lose the house. You're still on the hook for paying the property tax, the insurance, and the maintenance. So if you're having financial difficulties already, which might be the reason you're looking at the reverse mortgage solution, if you stop payments on the property tax, you still lose the home. If you can't keep up the insurance, you can lose the home. A news story I saw recently about a couple who lost their home and had a reverse mortgage. It was because they had some health issues come up. The cash flow got tight. They missed some payments. I don't remember if it was property tax or insurance, but the home got taken away. And another consideration for some people is, I'd like to leave my house to my kids or to someone in the family. How can that happen with a reverse mortgage? If you've had a reverse mortgage for years and have been receiving that money, can your kids still buy the house? Yes, but it's a limited window of opportunity. I think right now it stands at 6 months after the homeowner passes away. If someone's going to pay off the mortgage and take possession of the home, that has to happen within those few months. Otherwise, the home is taken and presumably sold to pay off the mortgage. What an incredibly generous gift when a parent leaves a home to the children. But if that home has a $60,000 mortgage on it, that needs to be paid off very quickly, and the child would like to keep the home, keep it in the family, what your parents really wanted to leave you was the place where all those memories of your childhood are located and your memories of them. So it can be kind of heartbreaking that the parents wanted to leave the home and the memories to the kids, but because of the financial obligations, they just leave some cash. But what are you going to do? Well, it turns out there is something else you can do, something I had never heard of in my research about reverse mortgages. One of the resources I checked was clarkhoward.com. If you don't know who Clark Howard is, maybe you never listened to the radio. I spent many years listening to his radio program. I think he's now on a cable TV channel doing a consumer and financial program. I really like him. But he mentions National Family Mortgage, and I'll link to that down below this video as well. They offer the way to set up legally the framework to do a sort of reverse mortgage where instead of the money coming from a bank and your indebtedness and the interest and the fees and all that going to the bank and the other affiliated companies, your family, assuming they have the finances to do this, can actually serve as the bank, that you are taking the mortgage from them through all the proper paperwork and legal channels, and so you receive monthly payments from your own family, and they become owners of the house. I assume you could try to set this up informally, but with family and money, just go to an organization that can have it all written and spelled out clearly on paper. So as I said, the reverse mortgage, for some people, some right financial circumstances, it is a good choice, but the reason it's that most organizations hesitate to recommend it are the costs. If you've ever bought or sold a home, I'm sure you're familiar with the origination fee. In the case of a reverse mortgage, it can be up to 2% on the first $200,000 of value of the home, 1% after that, so it can go up to $6,000. And this is a front-loaded, which means as soon as the paperwork's done and you sign it, you owe that $6,000. Now, you don't have to pay it. It's going to be packaged in with the rest of your debt as you take the equity out of your home. But that $6,000 charge will be there, accruing interest for however many years you have the reverse mortgage. It gets paid, and all the interest that's accumulated gets paid at the time the mortgage is paid off. Then there's a mortgage insurance premium that you have to have. That's 2% of the appraised value of the home up front. And then each year that you have the loan, it's another 1/2 of 1% of the outstanding balance of the loan. So it just keeps adding up and up. And that insurance isn't really so much for you as it is for the lien holder. Should another housing crash happen, your home could end up losing a lot of value, and you may have already been given more money than what the home is currently worth. And if you pass away at that point, the lender is going to take a loss. Well, they're not, because they have this insurance policy that you're paying for. Then there's the appraisal fee where they inspect your home. There are the closing costs, all the paperwork charges, and the servicing fee. And we haven't even got to interest. Reverse mortgages generally charge a somewhat higher interest rate than a first mortgage or a home equity line of credit. So you're going to be paying not a whole lot more, but compared, if interest rates are 4% on a new home loan, you might pay 5% or so on your reverse mortgage. But here's the scary thing thinking about this to me. If I make an investment, like I put my money into even a savings account, and over the year it earns some interest, and I leave that in there, then the next year I'm making interest on my initial bunch of money plus the interest. And then the third year I'm making my interest off that initial money plus the interest on the interest. And so instead of your money growing like that, you get one of those curves going on. Very nice when you're on the receiving end of it. But what happens with a reverse mortgage? Well, your debt goes like this. It's never good when you owe money to see that kind of curve. Admittedly, with a regular home mortgage, you pay a lot of interest too. If you borrow $100,000, you may pay back a total with the interest over 30 years of $250,000. So you end up paying far more in interest than you actually paid for the house. So it's not a great deal either, but at least as you make your payments with the regular mortgage year after year, you're in better and better shape, because the principal finally starts to get paid down and more of your money is going towards paying for the house instead of just paying the interest. Each year is better and better. With a reverse mortgage, each year is worse and worse because you've gotten this much money, but now the interest on the interest on the interest just keeps going up and up and up. So let me give you the breakdown of the organizations that I took a look at to see what they thought, yay or nay, on reverse mortgages. The website reversemortgage.org, I basically went there to read through all the fine print of what's involved in the fees of getting a reverse mortgage, but they seem to think it's a pretty good idea. LendingTree.com is sort of neutral on it. They do a good job explaining features about them, but they do say they are complicated and you should be sure you know what you're signing before you get into a reverse mortgage. And in fact, it's now the law that you have, if you want a reverse mortgage, you have to go through counseling before, but that can be telephone counseling. So I think they, in some cases, might be paying more lip service to that requirement. I think you can't beat sitting down with a financial advisor consultant who can show you graphs and examples and answer your questions when you see things. What's this number right here? Can't do that as easily over the phone. Investopedia.com does a good job at taking a different perspective looking at reverse mortgages. They really emphasize the danger in taking that cash out option where you get all the money up front first because that money, it's so tempting to spend it on all the fun things and then you don't have any left when you need it. The NCOA.org, the National Council on Aging, a pretty well-respected organization, says it can be right for some people, but it should not be used as a financial tool of last resort. Consumer Reports, an organization I really like. I've subscribed to their magazine 35 years ago. I have their online subscription now. They reported in 2016 that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a government agency, was warning seniors about companies promoting reverse mortgages, was actually misrepresenting the fact that you can lose the home. And there was an $800,000 fine paid by 3 of the largest reverse mortgage lenders, including AAG. The finding was these companies tricked consumers into believing they could not lose their homes with a reverse mortgage. Also, this agency said that ads run by these companies claim there are no costs to reverse mortgages when in fact you have credit reporting fees, title insurance costs, appraisal costs, other closing costs, and a fee for government mortgage insurance. Steering's starting to feel a little loose, maybe? If you don't think so, listen to this story. To get a reverse mortgage, you had to be 62 years old. So when there was a married couple and one spouse was younger, not yet 62, they were left off the paperwork. So what happened when the older spouse, the one whose name all the paperwork was in, passed away, the other surviving spouse either had to pay off the mortgage, just like a child would, in order to inherit it, or they had to get out. So they had no secure benefits, and in fact, it was AARP that sued to have changes made to protect that second spouse. They could no longer receive payments from the reverse mortgage, but at least things were frozen as is, and so long as they made the utility, property tax, etc. payments, they could continue to live there. AARP sued for that protection. What does AARP have to say about reverse mortgages? Well, they were obviously real skittish about them some years ago, but as the government has insisted on more protections, because the lenders were doing these things that I mentioned, now it's a safer thing to do, but not a safe thing to do. You still have to be very careful. They warn you to be very, very wary. And the last resource I looked up to get their opinion on reverse mortgages is Dave Ramsey. Now, sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't really care for him too much. I've done the Financial Peace University thing, and the goals are laudable, but I don't know, over the years, I've listened to him on the radio a lot as well. It just seems more and more commercialized, all the companies that are interwoven with what he offers. But whether you're a fan of Dave Ramsey or not, his general opinion seems to be really not a good idea except in particular circumstances, and you have to be super careful. Now, the National Council on Aging has a nice free 36-page booklet. It's on their website, and I'll link to it down below. You can either read it on the screen or print it out and give it to someone who maybe isn't comfortable reading on the computer. So to answer the questions I started out with, first, is a reverse mortgage a possibility for my father who no longer lives in his own home? No, you do have to live in the home to get the reverse mortgage. And the other question, is a reverse mortgage something I'll likely look into the future? Nope, I've already got a plan. I live in Austin, Texas, one of the fastest growing cities in the US, and property prices are up every year. So my anticipation is that will continue. And that being the case, once the kids are out of school and off doing their own things, I don't need to live right here, so sell the house in the prime real estate location in the big city and move somewhere smaller and cheaper. Who knows, maybe a ranch out in West Texas, because it's not my first rodeo either. I'll see you on the next review.